I started as a salesperson, so to speak, a regulatory salesperson, where we're trying to find customers, new customers, and talk to existing customers.
I have basically a few of us were all going for the one role, which I got, and the others were just got rid of. I felt terrible, and it took me a while to sort of go, oh my gosh. So I think, yes, it's tough for you, but it's also tough for the people who are there, and they're doing a lot more work, so they're picking up your work too.
Good morning, fam. We're out here, beautiful day in Sydney, off to the 2025 ARCS conference, where the biggest and brightest names in pharmaceuticals and medtech will be presenting or attending. Forgive me for my voice, I'm trying to shake this cold, but I promise you won't be hearing too much from me, given the all-star lineup of people hopefully we'll bump into and get to interview. Now, big congratulations to Ali, Bushna and Nazra for winning the ARCS student membership giveaway, and I know Tim and the team have kindly given you access to this 3-day conference, and even going on their website, that's $3,000 of value that they've invested in you, and we really hope, even if you can't make it, you watch some of the recordings or join the several other web recordings that they offer on the pharmaceutical industry. But also, it's a great reminder, guys, to subscribe to the channel so that you're kept in the loop for future giveaways that are really going to help you catapult your career in the pharmaceutical industry. So what have we got on today? I'm going to this conference with thousands of people, and it's probably fair to say I don't know anyone who is going. So yes, I'm shitting myself, I'm quite nervous, but again, a little bit of deep breathing and thinking about what my strategy is going to be to building relationships. It's going to be what I shared with you guys already, offering a genuine compliment, asking for some advice on something that I'm struggling with. Yes, there are 3 guests whose sessions I have highlighted and done a little bit of research on, and I'd love to share their takeaways and insights with you. But other than that, yeah, I'm going to sort of wing it. I don't want to be too prepared. And the beauty of going to conferences like this is, already you've got common ground because everyone here is from pharmaceuticals or medtech. So even if it's at lunchtime, afternoon tea, you bump into someone and say, hey, my name's David. Which company do you work at? What's your role? What do you love about the pharmaceutical industry? And already, that's a great conversation starter, and you can just roll with it and tell them about yourself. Be vulnerable. Look, I'm here because I'm looking to connect with people in the industry and learn more about why they love the industry, to inspire me to figure out what roles to go for. And if you have any advice for me, that'd be much appreciated, because I'm really struggling at the moment. I've tried reaching out to recruiters or applying for some entry-level roles, and I'm just getting nowhere.
Definitely getting loads of goosebumps as I see the ICC letters. The last time I was here was for the bodybuilding comp, but very glad I'll be able to indulge in some Messina or gelato after this conference.
That came out late last year, and you can see the objectives of the Horizon Scanning and the recommendations. It's recommendation 47 if you want to read the report, but the overarching recommendation was, again, establish and resource an Australian Horizon Scanning function that improves stakeholder engagement, etc., etc. So we seem to be always recommending and wanting to have these meetings and these forums, and we don't seem to be getting very far.
So this is the broad map or framework that I would start with to think about your China entry strategy. We talk about the Hong Kong into GBA, and that's the GBA of the Greater Bay, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Macau, which has 80 million people in it. The key point there is that you need to start with your Hong Kong approvals, which is voluntary for medical device, before you can enter the GBA. So that's quite a high starting point. However, this decision tree, I would suggest, is a way that we see many companies avoid the need to do China trials as well. First point to mention is that the risk classification is broadly the same with other jurisdictions. However, there can be differences, and it's often up-classified, so it tends to be more conservative as compared with other countries in China.
Awesome. Well, guys, really lucky to have Hamish King, CEO and a lawyer of Cisema. Really honoured to have you interview with us. So I have 4 quick questions for you, Hamish. The first one, obviously you've got extensive experience with drug or device registration. Can you tell us, what do you love about your role?
So I'm a lawyer by training, and I used to work more in, work for large companies, advising them. I love working in healthcare. I love supporting products get to market. One example recently is we helped a pharma manufacturer that has developed an innovative cell gene therapy that's injected into a baby's brain, and it allows those babies to live a semi-normal life in a way they would never otherwise be able to. They suffer from what's colloquially known as a floppy baby syndrome, so they can't develop muscle mass. These lives are transformed, so yeah, it's being able to help products like that get to market and help patients. It's very rewarding, and it's amazing to be part of.
I think completely right. Working in healthcare, we know health is probably the most important thing that we all own.
Impacted by it, yeah.
More precious than money. So that is super powerful mission that we're all on. What are some common misconceptions people have about regulatory affairs?
I suppose, there is a lot of document work, and perhaps there's a fear that you only do document work, but it is also thinking creatively and thinking strategically about how to do that documentation and satisfy those regulations in a creative and appropriate way.
And maybe for the audience, I know in my experience, having worked in big pharma for 8 years, not everyone is a lawyer, and maybe can we clarify, for the people who haven't studied law, that it is still possible to do that, but equally, if you have a law degree, maybe there's a synergy that really does help with.
100%. So I'm a lawyer by training. I qualified at Sydney Uni, where I studied, and in Sydney for a few years before I moved to Hong Kong, where I've lived for the last 10 years, and I worked as a lawyer for 5 years in Hong Kong before transitioning to regulatory affairs. They are same but different. Of course, the regulations ultimately, from a legal sense, hang off the laws. But as a lawyer, to say it cynically, you disregarded, or you didn't really look at the regulations at all. You're kind of like, those don't matter, it's just about the law. Whereas now that I work in regulations, I'm like, no, that's completely the wrong way about it. Regulations are what matter day to day, that companies need to comply with, that people need to work with. And so that's in many ways much more important to the day-to-day business needs and healthcare needs and all the rest.
Yeah, okay, very fascinating. How has your role or function changed over the last 5 years?
Last 5 years? Well, I joined our company Cisema around 5 years ago. I married into the business. So the company is founded by my father-in-law, and he wanted to step back from the business. And the discussion started after I'd married my wife. Would you like to take over? So that started 5 years ago when I first joined. I started as a salesperson, so to speak, regulatory salesperson, where we're trying to find new customers, and talk to existing customers. And then it's evolved more to a chief of operations role, and now it's the CEO role. So there has been quite a lot of change over the years. But at the end of the day, it's about trying to talk to customers, support our customers who are the manufacturers, and be in that also sweet spot of satisfying the regulatory authorities who are the other part of the triangle.
Yeah. Are you finding, traditionally when we look at the global economy, the US has always been the key focus for all, not just pharmaceutical companies, just companies in general, but now with China rapidly growing, maybe a bold prediction, are you seeing that more medical device companies and things like that are starting to pivot towards China or put more emphasis on China?
I would say no. I would say US is still number one. I mean, the companies we talk to who are our customers, almost all international companies, they still see that going to US first makes the most sense in many ways. And one of the differences there is that in US you can go there first without first having home country approval.
Right.
Whereas in China market, which is what our company focuses on, you need to have home country approval of your device before you can go there. And of course there are the trade tensions and there are other tensions as well. And it's not a straightforward market.
Yeah.
But of course it's a huge potential opportunity. And so for the right type of product, it really is worthwhile to enter it, and we're helping companies do it every day.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, they definitely should be reaching out. Obviously a little bit biased with their Chinese ancestry, that seeing how China has evolved even over the last 5 to 10 years has been significant changes. My final question, you obviously have a very global career, having been an Australian boy, studied at Sydney, married into a German family, live in Hong Kong. How would you encourage new starters thinking about a career in pharma or medical devices to think about an international career, particularly in the Asia Pacific region, whether that's China or Hong Kong?
Well, healthcare is a very global industry. Medical device and pharma regs, they are increasingly harmonized internationally. So if you work in the industry, you have an easy transfer, I would suggest, to other markets, whether that's US or EU or Asia-wide, because most of those other regulations are derivatives of or recognize those international regs. So I'd say it's a very international career, even more so perhaps than being a lawyer, because I had to requalify in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are a regulatory expert in Australia, you already have quite a good grasp of EU and US, which are the primary other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And so you can relatively rapidly transfer your skills and are very useful in other markets.
Yeah, okay, awesome. That's so good to hear the geographical mobility of that skill set.
100%.
I think, amazing. And again, congratulations on an amazing keynote, and thank you for making time to chat with us.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hamish.
Alright, so this is, if you like, my second final slide. This is the one that if you want to take a photo, would you like me to pose underneath, or you don't really want me? So you need to be able to decouple that emotion, think consciously and go, okay, is this a data point that I need to think about, or is this a death sentence? It's very rarely a death sentence. It's just a data point for you to go, okay, where do I fit this in? You need to find meaning in challenges. All right? After you've processed them, after you've gone through the stress, you go, all right, why did that happen? What can I learn from it? How does it serve my larger mission? Right? I have a mission in life. How does this help me with that mission? What have I learned?
So yeah, thank you for making time, and it was such a fascinating talk looking at the mindsets and behaviours, performing in high pressure situations. I had a couple questions for you, and it's amazing what you've achieved in your career, having worked in London, the US, being a country medical director at Ipsen. The first question I had was going to relate to behaviours and mindsets, but if you're okay with it, I was going to share it with the audience. I particularly enjoyed the piece around productive urgency, and a lot of them, yeah, let's be honest, it's hard to crack into pharma for the first time, and they're probably feeling that resentment, the disappointment, and I've been ghosted by a recruiter.
Yeah.
I'm getting no feedback. This is just getting a bit too much for me. So if that's okay, I'd love to share that with them. So I might take you back down memory lane. My first question is, what was your first role in the industry and how did you get it?
Okay, so we're going back 30 odd years, and I had just finished my haematology training through the blood bank. So I was a transfusion medicine specialist.
Because you were a doctor, right? You studied medicine, yes.
Yeah, so I was a haematologist, but with that subspecialty. And I'd always wanted to be in industry. I don't know why, I just had always wanted to. And so even before I specialised, after I finished my medicine degree, and so we're talking a long time ago, I actually went to talk to recruiters who recruited for the industry. I went and spoke to people who were in industry. And essentially what I was told was your medical degree essentially gets you qualified for one thing, and that's to do medicine and be a doctor. And I said, but I'm happy to start as a sales rep. I will work my way through it. Oh, no, you can't be a sales rep because the doctors will be intimidated by you. And you can't do this. And I said, well, what about a medical role? Oh, no. You've got to be a specialist to be a medical role. You can't be a GP and do it.
Okay.
So I was either underqualified or overqualified for anything. And I went, okay. And I really enjoyed the transfusion medicine, and I'd got that role and the training. And so I finished, and then I thought, okay. And I was actually offered a role within the blood bank, once I'd sort of completed my training. And I had just seen this role advertised at CSL for an associate medical director. And I thought, well, that's beautiful. So I applied and went to the interview, and they basically offered me the role. And I thought, okay, well, this is where I want to be. So I turned down the transfusion medicine role and went into CSL as associate medical director. And ironically, I had nothing to do with blood products. I was on the pharma side, so I basically worked with vaccines.
Yeah, right. And the rest is history, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
As they say. Yeah, well, I was going to say, I would challenge what the recruiters tell you. I think with a medical degree, the world's your oyster, and you landed, your first role is like almost top of the food chain. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think, well, it was different back then.
Okay.
So, you didn't have, as I said, basically medical degree qualified you to do doctor stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And if you wanted to do something different, there was no option for it. So I sort of understood it at the time, and yes, it is thankfully very, very different now. But yeah, when I was around, that's sort of how I got in.
Yeah, nice. Okay, thank you for sharing. So leveraging the time you've had in pharma, which hasn't been short, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received about working in pharma?
Gee, that's a tough one. Look, I think, so I've been through the restructuring more than once in my time, and I've seen it done really well and I've seen it done really badly. And it doesn't really matter what happens or how well it's done. It's jarring. And I think there's two things I say to people when they're going through it. And one's, I guess, a bit of advice or something that I've noticed and that was told to me, is you've got to understand it's not personal, and you've got to make sure you don't lose your confidence, right? So, I know the first time it happened to me, I was shattered for a long time. It was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I don't think I can do this job. What am I doing here? But, it took me a long time to get over it, and I regret that. I think the other thing is that you don't realise is there's survivor's guilt for the people who stay.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a position where I have basically, a few of us were all going for the one role, which I got, and the others were just got rid of, right? There was no role for them. And I felt terrible, and it took me a while to sort of go, oh my gosh. So I think, yes, it's tough for you, but it's also tough for the people who are there, and they're doing a lot more work, so they're picking up your work too. It's about framing it, and it's about not losing your confidence. I think the other thing is, and this is a piece of advice that I actually got off, I'm a sci-fi freak. So one of my favourite shows is Stargate 1.
Okay.
I don't know if you know it. But, someone's talking to the general and saying, I don't know what to do. And the general says, it's not about the decision you make, it's about what you make of your decision.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
So you've got to stop second guessing yourself and go, okay, I'm in this situation. This is where I want to go. I'm going to do the best I can to make that the right decision. If I have to pivot at some point, then I'll pivot. But I can't second guess myself. It's like, okay, this is where I am. This is where I want to get to. This is how I'm going to do it. Go full bore.
Yeah. That is really good advice, actually. Yeah. I think not just for career, but actually life in general.
Yeah.
Because life's full of ups and downs. Brilliant. What's one thing people should stop doing when trying to get into pharma?
I think it's about stop thinking about yourself to some extent and what you've got, and start thinking about what is it that they want.
Yeah.
So I know, we'll sit back and we'll go, well, I can do this and I can do this, and I'm pretty smart and I understand this. That's great. but is that what they're looking for? So I think it's about going and talking to people and saying, what is it that I need? And then, yes, maybe you need to go out and get those skills. And if you're going out to get skills, try and make sure they're transferable.
Yes.
So, you know, if you have a skill that you can read a regulatory document, for example, then that qualifies you to read a regulatory document. Whereas if you've got a skill that says, I know how to lead a team, you can lead a team across anything.
Yeah.
So think about transferable skills, but make sure that you're thinking about what they want and then match what you've got.
That's really good insight. And yeah, guys, I really take those words of wisdom because they're so true, and I think they're going to help accelerate you. If you're finding yourself in that rut of being knocked back, it probably is that you're saying, I can do this, this and this, but maybe the company or the role you're going for, they don't want that. So you've got to say, you can get this from me, as opposed to I can do this, this and this. So.
Yeah, so I think it's, you know, I'm guilty of it too, is I don't really read a job description in detail, and I never realised until I started writing them how much effort actually goes into a job description. And so think about the job description, think about what is it that they're really looking for, and tailor what you've got to that. And if you don't have it, that's okay, but show them that you're trainable in that particular situation. So you're never going to, it's really rare to find a candidate who has exactly everything that you're looking for. Then the next question is, okay, if they don't have that, are they trainable?
Yes,
yeah.
Brilliant. And you obviously have so much insight into this space. Would you like to tell the audience a bit about what you're doing? I think you've got the My Mentors that you run.
Yeah, so I started a company called medicalaffairsmentor.com. I've always had a passion for people development. You know, one of the joys that I used to get in my leadership was seeing my team members move on and grow. And so I've sort of got to this stage in my life where I'm going to do my own thing. And what I want to do is mentor people and train people to improve in what they're doing. And whilst a lot of the skills are generic, you know, what I have is 30 years of medical affairs experience and understand the industry, understand the pressures, etc., that medical affairs are going through.
Yeah, very rich experience. And for the audience, if they want to reach out to you, LinkedIn, is that
they can reach out to me LinkedIn, or my company name is medicalaffairsmentor.com, which is my website.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Fairly simple.
Yeah, guys, check it out, easy. And yeah, thank you again, Leon, for coming onto the channel. It's been amazing. I really enjoyed your session.
Thank you.
And yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you. This was our first time meeting. And,
it is.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful exchange of ideas and I think connection, insights, wisdom. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Thanks, David.
Just leaving day one of the ARCS 2025 conference. Amazing to see so many colleagues and meet new people within the industry. I think it was a really nice spread of topics, speakers, which not only applied to Reg Affairs, Med Affairs, PV, Med Info, but also to life in general. And as you guys know, I love psychology, mindset, and Leon's session really was the highlight for me. And if you were unlucky and didn't win one of the ARCS giveaways, subscribe to the channel because maybe next year there'll be more. But also I'd encourage you to reach out to them directly and see where you could support them. You know, say, hey, I'm a student, I own a mobile phone, I can film some content for you and I can share that with my university groups when I get back, and maybe Tim and the ARCS team will approve of a conference pass for you. You know, if you don't ask, you don't get. And what's the worst that could happen? They say no, or they're busy, they don't reply. So I'd really encourage you to give that a go. See you on the next video.